the arc of how we awaken and how we awaken over and over again. And awakening has kind of been hijacked by the like new age spiritual 5D thing, as there's like a singular awakening where you're like, oh, I woke up and now I'm just awake and everything goes well, right? The 3D, 5D, all that lingo you hear in new age spaces. And if you haven't touched those spaces, good on you. Stay where you are. You don't need to go there. But in a lot of new age spaces, we basically just took frankly, Christian Judaic hierarchical religion and stamped it onto New Age spirituality, and we said, oh, there's 3D, 5D. Sounds a lot like heaven and earth to me, right? There's an awakening, right? And then you got into heaven. No, awakening is a movement of energy and consciousness that happens over and over again in our life, and there's an arc to it, and there's different seasons of it, and there's different way to tend to those different seasons, and sometimes we can have different seasons overlapping a little bit, or different dimensions of us are in a different season of awakening. Knowing this, tracking this, having a basic map for this can help us know how to show up for ourselves, can help us know when to be gentle versus when to push, can help us seek out the right spaces and spiritual tools, energetic tools, self-development tools. Because some folks are reaching for healing tools when they're actually in a creation season. They need to be creating, right? Some folks are trying to bully themselves into creating or hashtag manifesting when they're actually in a healing season. And some folks are never evolving out of the kind of like catch-22 of healing / creating, manifesting, because they're actually meant to be leading or leaving behind what they've learned and embodied so that they can move on to a next season. So let's break this down. Pain, suffering, dysfunction that hits a breaking point, right? The system can no longer bear the accommodations it has made to try to survive through the dysfunction, right? And I say that with a lot of compassion because our mechanisms of surviving through dysfunction are incredible. We're very lucky we have those individually and culturally, as painful as it is to look at when they come to the surface. Mechanisms of survival are what moved us forward. And then there's a moment though where the dysfunction cannot hold any longer, right? The way the system has been bearing the pain, the fracture, it doesn't work anymore. Or sometimes I think of it, or I see it on people as it's taking more than it's giving now, right? So I talk a lot about my history with alcoholism. Alcohol was a coping tool for me. Alcohol kept me alive. I believe that through certain seasons of my life. It kept me alive. And then the breaking point became when the alcohol was taking more than it was giving. It was taking more life from me than what it was helping me survive. So that pain hits a breaking point. And those moments can feel like death because they are. And that's what a classic initiation is. We have to die. We will either die physically or we will die spiritually. Because what has been can no longer be, right? So the pain that has hit a threshold, a breaking point, it is crisis and opportunity. It is death. Which death will you choose? Which path will you walk, right? I came to that edge when I was drinking in my alcoholism. I could have physically died. I was very close to just letting myself drink myself to death or get into an accident or maybe take my own life. And yet something in me said, let's try the other death. Let's die to everything we've known, everything we've believed about ourselves, everything the world has told us about ourselves. Which, by the way, sounds beautiful and is actually quite terrifying. It's incredibly courageous to say, I'm going to die to everything that I was encoded to be. And I'm going to let myself be born into something new, right? First initiation. And that is the first initiation of awakening that sets off a season of healing. There's deep healing necessary, right? There's replenishment from the exhaustion of survival that we've been living in. There's a repair to places of fracture in the self, places where we've lost relationship with the self or we've developed distrust with the self, and places where we've had distrust or fracturing with the world around us.